We do have Daniel. Daniel is with us. Hey, Daniel, how are you doing?
Beth Ann, how are you? I'm so sorry I'm a little late.
No, I figured, I was already forgiven you. I figured you was watching the president. He was live while I was going on the air. He didn't consult me on time.
Yeah, it was a bad time for all of us, but
Somebody's telling him, no, you can't do it at 10 o'clock. Beth Ann's on. Come on. What's going on? Well, I'll tell you what, I really enjoyed our show on Tuesday.
me too.
I had a great time.
Great just to talk about these issues, and we don't always get a chance to have a whole hour just to talk about one specific thing.
Mm-hmm.
And these are complex problems, right? They're not solved in platitudes or in simple resolutions like that silly Green New Deal. They are really complex problems, and heck, we only had an hour. We would need months to really go to the nitty-gritty of energy policy in America.
You didn't get to hear the beginning of the show, but I've written a little thing. Foxworthy's "You Might Be a Redneck If."
Yeah.
Well, I've written a new one, and it's "You Might Be a Sheeple If," and in it I have, if you believe climate change is a serious threat and the Green New Deal and billions and trillions of dollars will save the planet, and not yet another government socialist agenda meant to control the people and take the land and squash liberty and independence once and for all.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm kind of a radical. I think you've probably figured that out. But I'm just simple-minded. To me, it's very simple. We need to be good stewards. Most people know that I believe that. We've learned a lot with our environment, whether it's with the land or the air or whatever the case may be. But this proposal that she's come up with, she didn't come up with it, but she's taking credit. It's not to help anything. It's not going to save the planet.
No, and again, if we could have a serious conversation about energy policy and get rid of all of the little social programs about race and gender and housing and education, I would love to have a conversation with her and her team about energy policy and even environmental policy. I would be fascinated to see what they bring to the table and what solutions they have. But again, if your energy policy is founded on the principle of restitution for slavery and for gender right advocacy, like those are issues, but they have nothing to do with energy, right? And healthcare doesn't really have anything to do with energy, and affordable housing has nothing to do with energy, and that's where this bill is just. It's kind of a launch into the disaster because it has too much in it that is absolutely unrelated.
And
that's not the type of country we want.
We see that so much in legislation coming out of Congress. The president talks about the farm bill, but there's less about farming on it and more about welfare in it and it just gets worse and worse every time. And this bill that they're passing now with the border, they're calling it the border bill, but there's a whole lot more in there than just the border. And nobody's talking about that. It's an omnibus bill.
A great senator from Missouri voted against it, and he said for that reason. He said it's 1,100 pages. I got it last night. He said, I can't in good conscience vote for this. I don't even know what's in it. I was very happy that Senator Hawley voted no because
I am too. I'm pleased with him
because no one read it.
And the ones that voted no, they're acting like they went against the president, but that's not true. They're the ones standing with the president. And I told my listeners before you got on, I said, I normally don't say the bad words. I said, but last night when this was all falling out and 1,100 pages is ridiculous anyway. But when this was all coming down and all this was against the president and all these things that were being said, I thought, I want him to veto it and tell him where to go, and tell them all to go there. It's just, and
exactly,
because they did it on purpose, and it's the American people that they're really doing this to.
And it's very frustrating that we have even Senator McConnell, who is in theory supports the same principles we do, but you can't keep allowing these 1,100-page bills that no one has read. We blasted the Pelosi and Obamacare for that. we have to do better. And it's just not fair to the American people to, again, enact this legislation that you have no idea what the provisions are. No one cares about budgets. No one. The whole Green New Deal is predicated on the fact that these young people are going to suffer the consequences of climate change. The young people are going to suffer the consequences of fiscal irresponsibility. They're the ones inheriting. What are we at now? $22 trillion in debt. It's so disheartening what happens in D.C. It really is.
It is. And, you know, she pulled that same stunt with this bill as she did with the Obamacare bill. First, we have to pass it, and then we'll read it. And I'm going to read I'm bringing it up. My computer's moving real slow. Of course, that was her words. And, oh, my computer's so slow. I need a new computer. Anyway, then it had a quote from James Madison talking about how the bills and the legislation should not be so long and so arduous that you can't understand them. Mm-hmm. And that is by design. They do that on purpose, just so that somebody like Pelosi can say what she said, so those senators can say, you know, they got it one day and they get to vote on it the next. There's no way they can read 1,100 pages and understand what's being read. That's another thing, to understand what's actually being said.
And this is all the consequence of this is the swamp that President Trump claimed to run against, right? It's D.C. perpetuating its own self-interest, and it's not the way our country is going to get any better. That's for sure.
Oh, well, it's going to get better because you and I are working at it.
Amen.
We're going to keep at it. We're not. You know, I read something yesterday that said 5 letters, Daniel, is all it takes. If Congress gets 5 letters, they're going to take it seriously. So we do make a difference, and we just need to encourage the people. Yes, you can make a difference. 5 letters will make a difference. Anyway, I appreciate all that you're doing. Keep us informed. Are you going to run away from us, or are you going to stick with us?
I'm going to keep fighting.
All right. All right. Well, we'll talk to you next week then, I guess.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate it. We're going into a break. Your call.